Welcome back to Talk of the Town. Maybe you're my age and you haven't really thought as much as you should about retirement planning, but I want you to stick around for these next two guests because they're going to tell you a lot of great information about planning for retirement. I'm joined now by Nate Condon and Clint Walkner from Walkner Condon Financial Advisors. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So I'm really excited to kind of hear a little bit more about this and learn some things myself. Obviously, retirement readiness means different things to different people. How would you define retirement readiness?
Well, we really look at it as a two-prong approach when we deal with our clients. One being the financial aspect, and obviously that's what most people think about with retirement readiness.
Sure.
How much do they need per month to be able to make their ends meet, and do they have enough savings to be able to get there? But really, the second prong is the one that a lot of people forget about, which is from an emotional side, from a mental side. Are they ready to retire?
Yeah.
They've gone to work for 40 years doing the same thing, getting out of bed, getting ready to go. Now that's going to stop. And do they have a plan? Do they know what they're going to do with their time? Do they know how they're going to keep their mind sharp and kind of fill that void that their career filled previous to that?
So do you guys offer any advice in like how people can mentally and psychologically plan for retirement at all? Or
yeah, there's a big analytics side to what we do, but every time we go through retirement, there's also that sort of personal side, and we spend a fair amount of time counseling people on that, and we talk about certain things like, do you want to do some volunteer work, or what kind of makes you tick? And so when we talk about retirement with them, how do you fill that void? And I think the most important thing is to start setting that up 6 months before you actually retire, and start to get, if you're going to be on a board or if you're going to do some volunteer work, get that established before you actually do that.
Have the plan in place before you actually make the move.
That transition is easier than mentally.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So, as more and more people, I'm guessing, not knowing a whole lot about this business, but I'm guessing that people nowadays who plan to retire are facing different challenges than they did, 30, 40 years ago. What are some of the biggest challenges that retirees are facing nowadays?
I think one of the things is the realization that they're going to be living possibly another 40 years after their retirement.
Yeah.
Technologies, with everything keeping people going, and now we can make a hip replacement, and 3 weeks later they're up and running. So I mean, it's a longevity issue, and that they could work for 40 years and then live for another 40 years and having the assets last that long.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And what are some common mistakes that people are making as they're entering into retirement?
Well, one of the most common mistakes that we see is people not having a good understanding of how much they actually spend per month in their household.
Sure.
And they're looking for the advisor to kind of tell them how much they can afford in retirement spending. Not really the best way to go about that task, because if somebody is used to spending X amount of dollars and then they think, well, in retirement I'll spend that minus 20 or 30 or 40%, that's not really what we're seeing. And I think most people can agree, shifting a lifestyle down from what they're used to is not an easy transition. And so then what happens is they continue to spend to their normal level, and then they start to realize the issues of, oh my goodness, my money is now dwindling.
Right.
And so really having a good understanding of what their monthly budget is, it does wonders for an advisor to be able to help them.
So that's sort of a step one almost for folks, even my age in their 30s, to say, okay, keep track of how much money I'm spending on a month-to-month basis, so that when it comes time to retire, I can look back on previous months and previous years and say, okay, this is how much I really need to live comfortably.
And establishing that savings habit too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have a lot of folks who watch this show, a lot of UW system employees who watch this program. What do UW system employees have to consider that might be different from somebody who is employed in the private sector?
Well, they have a pension, and that pension is a guaranteed stream of income to them. So that impacts their retirement income projection positively that way. But they've got a lot of nuances of their plan. Their plan is a lot more complex than just saving in a 401k plan and being done with it. So they've got 403B and 457 options inside of their plan, on top of sick leave conversion coming into retirement. So there's a lot of complexities of their plan, and they need a hand oftentimes with an advisor to walk them through that and just kind of get them to their retirement and understand what it all means.
Right, absolutely. A lot of good things to consider. Well, Nate Condon and Clint Walkner from Walkner Condon Financial Advisors, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Great info. Don't go away. We've got more Talk of the Town coming up right after this. Stay tuned.